Welcome, everybody. This is Ruthie Renae with Quantum Field Trips, and I'm here today with JaNae Francis. I met JaNae years and years ago in the seminar circuit, and I was super impressed with JaNae. Was just an amazing, heartfelt, kind woman, and she was also a writer, which I was just aspiring to be at the time. And I actually bought one of her, actually, you gifted me the book. What was it?
How to write your book while cooking dinner.
Yes. And I did. So that was pretty amazing. But then, to our great surprise, we ended up in the same class for hypnotherapy. And it was so fun to go through the process of learning with you. And we've just been in the same mastermind hypnotherapy group since then. So it's just been lots of fun to watch your progress and my own progress, and it's been so fun. So I wanted to have her on here so you guys could see how amazing she is and gain some insights and wisdom from this amazing woman. So JaNae, I'm going to ask you the same thing I ask all of my hypnotherapy not clients, guests. What got you into the idea of hypnotherapy?
I love that question because I joined the hypnotherapy class totally for myself. I had been on this forgiveness journey for about 20 years when I went to hypnotherapy school. And I realized that it's just like what they tell you. It's like an onion. There's just different layers. And I had worked through a lot of the layers. I wanted to work through all of the layers. And my friend who was in the hypnotherapy class said to me, if you really want to help yourself, you'll go to hypnotherapy class. And so I totally signed up, and I was always the first one to volunteer to be hypnotized. I worked on a
Yep.
lot of my things. And then about halfway through the class, I realized, oh my heck, I can help other people. And I went to class. I was so excited, telling everyone, I just realized I can help other people. And everyone laughed. They all said, yeah, duh, that's why we're all here. But it wasn't why I was there.
What that's okay, so that is so interesting because I actually just shared in I have another mastermind group that I met in a mentoring course. It was a 12-week course. And I had no intentions of ever mentoring anybody. I just wanted to fix myself and help my family. So, kind of the same with you. You kind of assess and think, okay, well, I can pay this much money because I know I've got a lot of junk and I'm going to do a lot of appointments with hypnotherapy, or I can learn how to do it myself and have those skills forever. And then in the process, you realize, oh my gosh, I can do this. And it's been a few years now, and you take regular clients one on one, right?
Yes, I do.
And do you have any specialty or niche, or is it just anybody that connects with you and wants to find you?
My specialty is helping people with forgiveness.
Okay.
And the reason why is because I feel qualified by life because of my own forgiveness journey.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing because outside of the hypnotherapy, I also can give people a lot of advice and talk about my own journey and save them a lot of dead ends that I found in my own forgiveness journey. And I can help them avoid things and also give them a sense of urgency. Because the longer we hold on to the things that we're holding on to, the more challenges we create in our own lives. And the more actually, when we don't forgive, we attract those same situations to our lives because like when something happens, we say to ourselves, I'm never going to let that happen again. And that's actually the worst thing that you could do
Yeah.
because if you say that, you set yourself up or actually for it to happen again. Because when you stop trusting people and you put up that shield, then you don't see the bad people for what they are because you have that shield. And so it's really important that you find a way to keep your heart open, and that way you're open to the good experiences in your life.
That's so beautifully said. That's like my a big chunk of my hour-long forgiveness lesson in 2 minutes. I might actually tucking this into the back of my mind. If you're available when I get to my forgiveness module, I would love to have you as a guest speaker in my class too. But we'll get to that later. That's
That
and
sounds
you
awesome.
do have because I know a little bit about your history. It's sometimes people think, well, yeah, it's easy to forgive little things, but I've had a lot of garbage happen to me. And it's the principle of forgiveness is the same. And you have been able to really transform your life and step into your own um, your own power. The transformation has been beautiful to see. You were always so kind and loving and peaceful and giving, but now you take all of those qualities and you're rooted and strong, and it's just beautiful to see.
Thank you. I think that is the heart of forgiveness, is if you can realize that all things in life are for our good and learning. And when you say that all things and you say, oh my heavens, that means everything in
Everything.
life is for our good and learning. And while I wouldn't wish the thing that I needed to forgive on anyone, I realize that that is the thing that has created so much beauty in my life. Like when I was a reporter for the newspaper and I had a faith column, and the faith column mostly was about forgiveness. And my very first column was about forgiveness. And people liked it so much that I kept writing that column every month. And in the end, I won a huge award for it. I was named the top column in the state of Utah. And that was never going to happen to me if I hadn't been hurt.
Yeah.
And it that is the key to forgiveness, is to be able to see the beauty in everything that happens to us.
Yeah. And even, I mean, I not necessarily the beauty in the circumstance that caused you to need to forgive, but the beauty that was created afterwards. And that's what you mean, right?
Yeah, the beauty that
Yeah.
can be created.
Yeah. The possibility that stems from not the act, but from you overcoming what happened. And it does create so much beauty. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank
So
you.
now that you've gone through, you're a certified clinical hypnotherapist and you work with clients, and now I bet that's so fun to see the shift in other people's lives and see that mirror and people find their footing and all of that. Do you have like a favorite client story that you want to share?
Yes, I found that I really attract men who were sexually abused, which I didn't know that that was going to happen. I expected to work with a lot of women, but
Mm-hmm.
men have far fewer resources.
It's true.
If you're a woman and you were sexually abused, there's women's shelters everywhere, and there's specialists and there's groups and all of that. But it's kind of like a man who has breast cancer. They just feel kind of isolated. And
Yeah.
I find that it's far more common than you would suspect, men who are sexually abused.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite client was someone who he didn't even sign up himself. His wife signed him up. And so I didn't think it was going to be that successful, because a lot of times when other people sign their friends and family up,
Right.
they're not that committed to
You
help.
have to have that commitment yourself. Sure.
Yes, but he really enjoyed his sessions. And there was this moment when he said, oh my heck, I feel my heart opening up. I feel like a completely different person.
Aw. I feeling a little bit emotions come up. It is I my heart goes out because I know a few men and that have had numerous kinds of abuse, sexual, physical, mental, and they do. There's men and women are different. It's okay for women to be hurt, to be vulnerable, and to need help. And especially when you're talking about sexual um, things, men just they think, and it's all thoughts, of course, it's all thoughts, but they think that they're not allowed to have that same access as women would. So I love that I hope that so many people share this and are able to find that beautiful resource through you. And what an amazing, kind, oh, you're perfect for the role.
Yeah,
To
it's
them.
really society kind of works against men, especially in this situation, because men are taught their whole lives, oh, don't cry, don't show your emotions. And I think in the end, they're actually more emotional than women because
Mhm.
they've had to stuff it for so long. And it's really beautiful to be able to offer a safe space for men to be able to feel. And I do work with women. I and children and all that. But men who are sexually abused, they're my favorite, and I'm able to make the most difference.
That's wonderful, and thank you for the words. All the emotion was in the way, and the words weren't coming out. So thank you for for finishing those thoughts. Oh gosh. So what do you find when working with these clients? What do you find is the biggest block holding them back from the forgiveness? Is there a generality, or is everybody unique?
Yes, I think the biggest block is that they take in the guilt. I often have this saying about sexual abuse, and it says, they do the crime, you do the time. And when
Mm.
they realize that all this guilt that they feel inside their heart is not from them, that it is actually the abuser's guilt that they've taken on, then they're able to let it go.
That's profound, and that's for any kind of abuse, male or female, and that's a wonderful place to start and look at.
You mentioned that women and men are different. The way women are different is they minimize what happened to them. So
Mm.
if you can get past that, and I did the same thing. I also I was abused by my dad, and I didn't remember that until I was 34. And the abuse happened when I was 7. It was this moment of suddenly feeling like my whole life was a lie because I had blocked it all of that time. But
Yeah,
with my stepdad, I didn't really think of it as sexual abuse because it was more of a proposition. We weren't actually that physical. But what happened afterward is he disowned me and he was really mean to me after that. And I felt like
mhm,
I lost my best friend in that moment. And that was never true. He was
right.
never my best friend. He was always grooming me. And
Hmm.
then he stopped and was his own self. But because we didn't have sex, I thought it wasn't sexual abuse. And
Right.
the number one material for women to read that were sexually abused, that's the first thing it says in the book is uh, that the biggest problem is minimization.
I can actually attest to that for myself too, and we get this sense of somehow we deserved it, and we didn't know how to get out of the situation. Most of us were young when it happened, and so therefore somehow you deserved it because you weren't strong enough to, all kinds of lies and the programming that's left over from that stuff. So it's, my goodness, it's so important to get, wherever you get the help, however you get the help, it's so important to get it, because we don't realize how it dominoes into our adult life and how we show up in the workplace, or our relationships now with our children, our spouse, or uh, all kinds of things.
And I just wanted to add something. You were talking about people feeling guilty because they couldn't get out.
Uh-huh.
This is the awesome part that I love about helping people in this situation is your mind doesn't know the difference between a memory and an imagination.
Yeah.
So for my own healing, I was working with a hypnotherapist that went to school with us, and we were working on my stepdad, and I totally froze in that moment. So I'm like you. I didn't do anything to get out of it other than to pretend like I could sleep through anything, literally anything. And so she said to me, while we were doing the hypnosis session, she said, "How would you have rather this have played out?"
Mm.
And in that imagination, I totally beat up my stepdad. I totally did.
Can't
And this
take
is
that.
right. This is awesome because whatever I needed uh, to have done, I got to do it. And
Right,
he got his punishment. Not really, but in my mind, he did.
right.
And so I'm still able to turn it over to God and let God do the punishing. However, I can move on and be happy that it played out in the way I wanted it to.
Right. So after having the experience in a hypnotic state, then you come forward conscious and you feel the empowerment rather than the I'm a victim, right?
Because I totally feel satisfied that I stepped into my power in that moment
Yeah.
and gave him what he deserved. If that happened to me today, if anyone did the exact same thing today, I would beat them up, right?
Right, exactly, because you're stronger, more sure of yourself. And I the forget since you work with forgiveness, I'll just touch on how um we don't think about forgiving when we were the victim, but it's important piece that we forgive ourselves for not being who we are now, because we did you don't know what you don't know. And so a lot of times we do need to have forgiveness for that little version of us, so that we know that it's okay that I didn't know, or that I wasn't strong enough, or that whatever it is. You shared so many beautiful things, and a little bit about yourself, and a little bit about your favorite clients. What is one thing that you would give for anybody listening now that's just feeling whatever they may be feeling? What piece of advice would you give to humanity for moving forward in life?
I think my number one advice is for people to realize that they choose their emotions. It's easy for us to say, oh, well, I did that because you ticked me off, right? But you
Mhm.
need to get in that space between what they did and your choice. And I really, really struggled with this for a lot of years because I was so angry about what had happened to me earlier and I hadn't let go of that. And I would go to therapists and they would tell me this thing. And I would be like, okay, I understand the words. I
Mhm.
don't think you're lying. But seriously, I don't get in that moment where I'm making the decision. It just seems so automatic that somebody does something, I blow up. And
Uh-huh.
I really wanted to get in that space. And I didn't know how. And this is how you can do it. Your emotions are like a glass of water. If you keep pouring water into the glass, it will just overflow.
Mhm.
And you can always pick up that glass of water and drink it down. So as we address our emotions and address our feelings and resolve the different situations, then the water is you can drink it down and then you just have that little bit of water. And once you just have that little bit of water, that creates that time. That creates that space because you're not so overwhelmed by emotions that when somebody does A, you have that minute to
Out of
say,
the room.
okay, now how do I want to react? And then choose it.
I love that analogy. So your glass, the drinking of the emotional cup is your acceptance, your responsibility. Okay, yes, this happened. I'm going to take it in and process and let it go. Because guess what? We don't hold our water, do we? We take
No.
it in and then we let it go through our bladder. And instead of, and great analogy. I've never heard that. Yay for JaNae. You mentioned another thing I want to point out to people, because like you and I felt the same thing, and I'm pretty sure everybody feels the same, where yes, I hear what you're saying and I cognitively understand that, but when so and so comes and does X, well, my response has to be this. I don't have any control. It's automatic. And that is the first clue that you're dealing with a subconscious programming. The way to remove that is through hypnosis, getting in I mean, it's not the only way, but the easiest way to take in that water and process it quickly and let it flow through you is to be able to get into a hypnotic state, whether you learn self hypnosis or you use an amazing guide like JaNae, getting through the core, finding that, well, where's the first time that I chose to react that way and what is a better, more helpful way. So that's what you help people do.
Thank you. And I wanted to just throw out another quick analogy, another
Sure.
way to think of it. I was explaining this to someone and they'd been to some training and they said, "Oh, yes, I was explained that as the Mentos principle." So, have you ever seen somebody throws in a Mentos into a full bottle of pop and
Oh, the Coke.
yeah, into Coke.
Yes.
Right. So what would happen if you drank most of the Coke and there was just a tiny bit of Coke in the bottle and then you threw in the Mentos? Then the explosion would be contained in the bottle. So
Yeah.
that's why it's important to drink down our emotions because you never know when somebody's going to throw a Mentos at you.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And I'll just, put in the reminder again is as you drink that down, it's meant to flow through you. We don't hold on to it. When we hold on to our water, it's very uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
We get filled up inside and we have to let it. So the flow, letting that come out. Well, so many great insights from you, JaNae. Thank you so much for being on here. And I'm absolutely going to have you, if time permitting for you, and if it's in your schedule, I'd love to have you come and be a guest speaker on my forgiveness module when we get to that in my course. So,
Thank you.
well, if you guys and oh, for anybody that's in their heads, well, how do I find JaNae? How do people find you?
I have a brand new website. It's called don'tkickthecat.com. I
Oh
just
my
wanted to
gosh, that's clever.
Yeah,
Don't
I'm going
kick
to show
the
you
cat.
some cute cards I have. I have these affirmation cards about that I talk about a lot and a podcast. My email address is don'tkickthecatpodcast.com. So they have these cats on them.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So
Love
don't kick the cat means manage your emotions before you take them out on other things, right? Like you've
it.
heard of kicking the cat. That means the dad has a bad day at work. He comes home, takes it out on the kids. They've had a bad day because of dad. Then they kick the cat,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So I love that. So Don't Kick the Cat podcast. You can find that on anywhere you listen to podcasts, I'm guessing.
Yes,
So we can go hear more wisdom from JaNae on her podcast. Go to don'tkickthecat.com for your website, and all of your contact information is there so that they can set up some appointments.
yes,
Perfect. All right. Well, if you have connected with JaNae, I encourage you to reach out to her and get the work done. Let that stuff flow through you. Get the tools so that you can have a better life. You can always choose your reality. It's up to you. And thank you so much for listening. Have a great day, everybody.